Hi everyone, in this video I will be showing you how to perform CRUD operations in Haskell using the servant web framework. Now as you can see it says the servant is a type level DSL for writing web APIs. You can just think of it as a web framework, backend web framework. Just like in Python we have Django, in Java we have Spring Boot, in Haskell we have servant to write RESTful APIs. We will be performing CRUD operations, which are really the essence of web development, backend web development. CRUD stands for create, read, update, and delete. Create means, let's say we have a database, inserting data into our database. Read means fetching information, fetching the data from the database and showing it to our client side. Updating means updating any of the existing records in our database, and deleting means deleting any of the record from our database. Servant provides a way to perform the CRUD operations, which we are going to see in our video in a type safe manner. And for this tutorial we will be using SQLite database for the sake of simplicity. So prerequisites, I will expect you to have some basic knowledge of Haskell, such as higher order functions, recursions, functor applicative, and monads, and all that. Even though you may not be as confident as in those concepts, you can still watch this video and try to develop your intuition, try to follow along, and maybe you can come back to this video later on to again see how well you can grasp. Also, I will expect some familiarity with SQL because we will be connecting with the SQLite database. We will be creating a table and everything. So let's get started. First, we will start with creating a new Cabal project. So I have this directory called servant CRUD. Right now there is nothing. I will expect you to have Cabal installed, Cabal and GHC. I have installed this using GHC cup. So you can install it using GHC cup as well. You can find the documentation of GHC cup on the Haskell website. I have also a video on how to install Cabal using GHC cup. So I'm going to say Cabal init. I'm going to say direct library and executable because I want this application to have an executable that I can run. Then I will be using the latest version. Let's see Spotify. License can be anything. It is a web-based project, so 17. Source, let's say 3 at GHC 2021. Main app for the executable, also the same GHC 2021. Let's have the test suite. Main again 2021, and if you can see, our project structure has been created. So next thing is we want to add the required dependencies. So let me just start. Editor, and let me just go to the Cabal dependency, and inside the library section you can see it has build depends. Here I can add the libraries that I want. So I will be definitely needing the servant server library package. So if you go here, this is the servant server library, and it re-exports the servant package that also contains some important parts of the servant library. So I will be providing server, and for the database, to communicate with the database, the SQLite database, I will be using a library called SQLite Simple. It is a mid-level library, market itself as well, that has really good functions that we can just directly use. So we have added the dependency, and let me fire up GHCID. Okay, all good. I want to start with actually creating a database that we can use. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to create a database. I'm going to call it servant DB. Okay, and I'm going to have a table called persons, and basically we will be performing CRUD operation on this persons table. So create table persons. I'm going to have three fields. First one is going to be person ID. The type of it would be an integer. Person name, let's have it as varchar 30, and finally age, which would be an integer. Let's insert one value to see whether our table is correct or not. Person values 1. Perfect. So our table has been created. We will be using this table to perform our CRUD operations. So let's go into our directory and let me just create another directory. I'm going to call it let's say CRUD, and here I will have a new file. I'm going to call it core. So what I want to do is, first we'll just use the SQLite simple library to sort of try to fetch the data from our table, and then we will move on to the servant side. So I'm going to create a file called query, and this query is inside the CRUD directory. So the module name is going to be like CRUD.query, where let's have a test function. And I don't know what happened. We also need to add this this file in our exposed module. So it's going to be CRUD.query. Start the GHCID. Okay, all good. Let's try to run this function from our cabal. I'm going to say cabal REPL. I'm going to import CRUD.query, and I'm going to call the test function. It gave me hello from query. That's great. So let's start with importing the SQLite database library. So it has given here an example. I'm going to import SQLite simple library, and I would like to have a function first of all that will fetch all the records from our persons table. So I'm going to call it fetch persons, and at the end I'm going to mention q. That way I will know that it's a query function, and it is going to give me a list of person. So for that I need to create a new type that can actually accommodate all these records into a single type. So let's create that. I'm going to create a type called person that will have let's say person ID will be an integer. Then I'm going to have person name, which would be a string, and person and age. Okay, fine. Let's add a person age. Let's have it as age, which would be an integer. So I need to write some instance. First of all, let's give it an EQ instance, give it a show instance, so we can actually see the person type. And in order to fetch the records from table and convert it into the into our Haskell type, we need to give it a from row instance, so that we can convert a record from the SQLite table, a SQLite row, into our person's Haskell type. So for that I need to give it a from row instance, and we are going to use generic so that Haskell will implicitly convert a table row into our Haskell type. So for that I need to import gsc.generics library, and let's see what error it gives me. So first of all, let me correct the spelling. Should be driving. Then it says that fetch persons lacks accompanying binding. Fine. Fetch persons view. Let's add it as okay. Now it is asking me that from row is not a stock derivable. Perhaps you intended to use derive any class. So let's add this language extension. Okay, all good. So actually let's try running it. Before that, I want to write a function that will return me the connection. Okay, that will give me this connection. So we have our database stored at this path. So let me add this path. I'm going to have a function called getCon that will return me a connection. So it would be open, and here it is going to be path. And it is going to return an IO of list of person. So it's going to be getCon. Then I can fire the query. So let's try. So the query that we want to fire is this select star from persons. Be like this, and in SQLite simple, there is a function called query underscore that takes the connection and it takes the query string, and it returns us the IO list of certain type. So let's use this query underscore function. Let's give it the connection, and we have passed in the string. So it is going to give us the list of the person list. The last statement should be it should not be it should be an expression. So I'm going to say fuel person list as in. So it is telling me that it is expecting query type, but actually what is given is a string. this location. So query is nothing in SQLite. Simple query is nothing but a type synonym for string. So in order to implicitly convert string into query, I'm going to use a language extension called overloaded string. Strings and all good. So let's try actually running it. And let's do this import query, and let's try firing this query. Fetch person queue, persons queue, unable to read the database. Okay. So the reason behind that is we have used this tilde, so most probably it is not able to understand the path. So let's write the full path. It's going to be /home/user. Okay, so we got the list containing all the records from our Postgres table, from our SQLite table in this fashion. So yeah, now we are able to using a Haskell function, we are able to fetch records from our SQLite database. Now I would like to let's say insert the data into our SQLite table. Let's try that. So let's write a function for that. I'm going to say insert person queue. That will take a person type and it will return a IO unit. That is, it will not return anything. Insert person queue do, and let's copy this. And I forgot one thing. After performing the operation, I should close the connection. And it's giving error here. Number 27. Indentation is off. Type. Okay. Anyways, we will be changing this anyway. So I'm going to have a person type, and we will be inserting it. So for insertion, the query is going to be like this: insert into persons, the tuple and some values. So let's write that, and here we will be having question mark. So these question marks will basically get replaced by whatever we will put here, and we will be using a function called execute. So the difference between execute and query is that query returns something, and execute, it does not return any result. It just returns an IO unit. So it will take a connection, it will take the query, and it will take a certain type that will get marshaled into our query string. Basically, whatever the type we will have here, all the values will get replaced in here. So execute, insert into persons, and have person. So execute, we forgot on no instance for 2-row. So person expects to have a 2-row instance. Since it is generic, we can just simply mention 2-row and it will work. T capital. Perfect. So let's actually, I don't think we need this. Okay. So let's try running. I'm going to say insert person q, and I'm going to pass in, I need to create a person type with the ID would be 2, the name, let's say, I think we have John already, let's say Chris, and the age would be 35. There should be double quotes. Okay, let's try and see. Okay, this is here. So yeah, we were able to fetch from person, we were able to insert into a person. So next would be update. So with update, we will expect a person type, and we will be updating the record. We cannot update the ID, we will be just updating the name, either name or string. So the query would look something like this: update persons set name is equal to something, name is equal to, let's say, Chris 2, and age is equal to, let's say, 25, where person ID is equal to 2. Person name, okay. So we will be using this query. So I'll be taking a person type 2. I'll be firing this query here. This one should be a question mark. This one is also going to be question mark, and this one is also going to be question mark. Now the interesting thing here is, since our person type contained values in the order of person ID, person name, and age, we cannot just simply put person here, okay, because the first value is an ID, but here the first value is expected to be a name. So instead of having person type, we would be have a tuple containing name, age, and then an ID. So we'll be using execute con, and at the end I will be closing the connection. Con. So here at the end, we'll say person, and I will be destructing all the values. For that, I need to have the record wildcat syntax. So here now it's going to be a tuple containing person name, then age, and finally person ID. Perfect. Let's try that. Reload. Then it will be update person q with the person ID containing 2, and I'm going to pass in this, that age be 37. If I go here, let's start, you can see Chris has been updated. Finally, we will have delete. So delete will take the person ID, which is an integer, and it is not going to return anything. from persons where person ID is question mark, and we would be passing person ID, but and close con. The thing is, okay. The thing is, we cannot have a single value in a tuple, so we need to give it. The thing is, there is no instance for 2-row integer, so we need to wrap this integer in an only type, and it will. So let's just test it. If it is working, delete person q, say 2. We go here, you can see only one record is there. So you can see only one record is there. So all the CRUD operations in the what you can say database form are there. Now we just have to write servant APIs that will internally call these functions to perform the operation. So query part is done. Now I just want to create another file. I'm going to call it core module CRUD.core where is from, and I need to add this file in our cabal. Where should I add it? Here. Okay, all good. I will be importing our query function, so that will be CRUD.query, so I can use all the functions which are defined in query. It is saying that it is redundant because nothing from query model is used yet. I will be importing servant on. So let's take a look. We have written query functions when are supposed to start the query server now. So query, so we will be using y here. Y is run function. Okay, when you say y run, so there is this run function that is part of network y handler warp. So I will import that network y handler warp, and let me define a main function, and here I will be calling a run at a given port. So let's call it 8080, and it is saying that y handler warp, it is part of warp package. So let's import that package. Let's add that package. So it's warp. Okay, it has found the hole. It is expecting an application. So let's call it app, and this app function will have application type, and for now let's have it as undefined. And it is saying that application does not exist because if you look at application type, it is part of network y package. So let's import that library, and it is saying that could not load network y module. So let's add y in our cabal. Okay, all good. It is just giving us a warning saying that this is not useful yet. Okay, all good. Now we want this application to work. We want to have some APIs inside this application. So in our servant server, if you can get here, we would be having a serve function that is going to create a application. So let's use this serve. First of all, it is going to give us an error saying that serve does not exist because it is part of server. Let's import that. Okay, couldn't match type. It is expecting two things. Let's see what are these two things. First of all, it is expecting a proxy, and the second thing it is expecting is a server API. So let's create proxy. First of all, we need to import proxy, I guess. Proxy, and you should also be creating a type that will have this server API. So actually, let's just write the type first. I'm going to have a person API type that would contain, let's say, persons, and we will be using this operator that sort of works as a slash, and this persons basically, so this would be a slash persons get request that will give us the list of persons. So I'm going to have it as a get request, and it will return us a JSON body, and that JSON body will contain list of persons. So lots of errors. Let's try to fix one by one. First of all, it is saying that it is hoping to use data kinds. So I'm going to add the language extension called data kinds. Second thing is it is not able to find this operator. So let's go and see where this data operator is. Okay, container sequence. That's not what we want. So in servant, normal servant, we have servant API module that contains this thing. So we can just import servant. Yes, so I'm going to say this. Okay, now it also wants get. So let's see where is get. Not here. Here it is get. It is part of servant API. So I'm going to say get. And JSON is also there. JSON, and it is saying that person does not exist. We have declared person in query. So let's import query. Okay. So it is giving us a small error. Let's see what is it. It must be from here. So I need to mention what sort of proxy it is. So here I'm going to give the name of the API, my API, that is here, person API. So I'm going to say proxy person API, and no instance for ASIN, so to JSON. Okay, so it is saying that the person type does not have a ASIN libraries to JSON instance. So let's give it let's give person the to JSON instance, and it is saying to JSON does not exist. For that we need to import data.asn library, and asn library does not exist. We need to add it in our package. Okay, all good. It is saying that it has found a hold called handler person, so we need to write a function. Let's call it fetch person. It is saying fetch person does not exist, so this is fetch person, and this fetch person is basically will work with this person API, this route, and it is going to fetch us the list of persons. So for this, all I need to do is call the fetch persons queue, and the thing is, first of all, we need to fetch the result to be person list, and we need to return person list so that the list of person will have the type handler. Okay, fetch person handler person. So I guess we need to do a lift IO here. Okay, and lift IO is part of control monad class IO. Could not find more. Okay, let's see from which part is lift IO from. Control monad IO class. So it should be IO dot class. Okay, all good. So we have written an API that will, so this would run our web server at port 8080, and when we will call /persons get request, it will give us a list of JSON data containing our person type. So let's try. Okay, just become our REPL again. So all the new packages will be imported. I'm going to say import CRUD.co, and I need to start the server, so I'm going to call main. Okay, this means that the server has started, and let me just quickly start the Insomnia. You can use Postman as well. Okay, so I'm going to write a new HTTP request, which would be a GET request. It will fire a GET request on localhost port 8080, which would be /persons. It would be /persons, and on firing you can see I'm getting the list of our person type in a JSON format. So that's how you can write a GET request. So it is a CRUD, from our CRUD operation, it is the read operation. Let's write a insert API. So we can just add it here. We can use this operator and mention that we will be having a post request. So I'm going to, which would be /persons at route. It will be a post request, and it is going to return us nothing. It is not going to return us anything. It is just going to insert the data. So it will be, and it will accept a JSON body. So I'm going to call it a rec body, and that rec body would be a JSON format, and it would be of a person type, and it would be a post request, that will return us JSON, but we just assume it. Lots of errors. Let's solve them one by one. So we need to import this alternative. And then rect body. Okay. And post. Okay. Now the thing is, in our app application we have fetch persons, okay, but it is expecting that there will be a handler fetch person and another handler that would take a person type and it will return a handler unit. So what we can do is, here itself we can just use alternative. This is not actual alternative, it is a variant of an alternative. And let's have another function called insert person that will take a person type and it will return a handler unit. So it will be insert person, and let's have it as undefined for now. And I need to write insert person. Okay, so I guess we need to do something like this to import. Okay, now it is saying that our person does not have a from JSON instance. So let's give from JSON instance. Since it is generic, we don't have to write explicitly a from JSON to JSON instance. Okay, all good so far. Let's write the function. So it will take a person type. Let's give it a variable person, and all we have to do is we have to call our insert. I guess it's insert person q, and we need to pass in our insert function, and it will not return anything. We will just say pure unit, and we need to lift IO because insert person q is returning a IO unit, but our functions do notation is part of handler. Okay, let's try restarting our application main, and let's try inserting it. So for insertion, let me just write a new request. Let's have it as post. Let me just rename this get persons. So it would be post persons or insert person. It would be http:/localhost port 8080. It would be persons, and I'm going to give it a JSON body which would contain what it would contain. It will contain person ID, which would be, let's say, 3. Then it would contain a person name, which would contain let's say Paul, and third thing would be age, which would be, let's give it a, and let's try inserting, and we got 200 requests. So let's check out our database. As you can see, Paul has been inserted. So insertion is done. Let's quickly write the update and delete. So with the update, again we will have the same thing, /person. We will be giving it a person type, and instead of post, let's give it a put request. Give us an error saying that put is not here. So I'm explicitly mentioning the operations in our library so that you will know from which package, from which module, which functions are coming from. We need to have the new function update person. which will take a person and will return a handler unit. It will take a person to lift IO, update person queue, person viewer unit, and person. All good. Let's try running. Update person. I'm going to have it as a put request, http localhost 8080/persons. In the body, I will give it a JSON. So let's use this guy. And here the person ID is going to be 3. I'm going to change the age of call from 28 to let's say 35. I'm going to insert, and it is saying method is not allowed. So let's see what has happened. Let's say put request persons. Sorry, it was my bad. I forgot to recompile our package, but if you can see, it is perfectly working fine. If we go here, you can see the age of call has been modified. Finally, let's write the delete request. If I go here, I switch, it would be a delete request. Delete, and it will not take any JSON body, it will just take a ID. So for taking the ID, we will be using capture function. It will be ID, and the type of it is going to be an integer. So I need to add ID here, and we need to add the function. So delete person, that will take an integer. It will return a handler unit. Delete person ID to lift IO. I guess it is called, the function is called delete person queue, person ID. Let me just quickly check. So in delete person, yes, we are taking an integer and we are deleting it. So we are going to pass in delete person ID, and we are going to return it viewer unit. So let's see. I guess spelling is wrong. Okay, all good. Let's try. Let me decompile and let's try running. So it would be delete person. It would be a delete request. http//localhost 8080 persons, and I'm going to mention the ID 3. We got 200 back. If we look at our table, we can see this record has been deleted. So that's how our the CRUD operation has been finished. That's how we can use it. Another cool thing I can do is I can move all these APIs into a single function. I'm going to call it, it should have same name as API, so I'm going to call it person API, and I'm going to have all these functions move up here, and I'm going to have person API here. So person API is here. Person API, the type is going to be, let me just quickly check the type, what type should be. So for the serve function, it is here. It is going to be server and the type of the API. it should be server. It will be an error because it is not able to understand what type it is. It is going to be a person API type. Okay, and also our executable, it starts from here. So what I want to do is I want to import our CRUD dot code as C, and I'm going to have C dot main, so that if I go here and I hit about build, and I say about run, just one last small change. When I do this, I'm going to say for test when server started at port 8080, run. You can see that port has started and it is working fine. So yeah, I think that's it. These are all the CRUD operations that can be done using so that's all the things that needs to be done for doing a CRUD operation in Haskell using the servant web server. Please like, comment on the video, comment below what type of videos you would like to see. Please subscribe for more videos. Thank you. Bye.